How did we do during a 1 in 100 year existential threat global pandemic? Pretty jolly well. We are the only country unique in the world that after 3 years of a global pandemic that's killed over 20 million people, we're the only country that has what's called negative excess mortality.
Almost 7 million deaths have been reported to WHO, but we know the toll is several times higher, at least 20 million.
Just to put some numbers around that, I think we've just passed 4,000 deaths in New Zealand from COVID. If we had the same death rate as the UK, that figure would be around 13 or 14,000. If it was the same death rate as the USA, it would be over 20,000. We are the only country unique in the world that after 3 years of a global pandemic that has what's called negative excess mortality.
Excess deaths around the world remain high. They were throughout 2022, and this is continuing into 2023. Let's just look at some of the data first of all. So this is from Our World in Data. This is basically 2022 into 2023. And we can see that that's zero. So that's where we would expect the lines to be. But we notice for these countries, New Zealand, South Korea, Hong Kong, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, Germany, Netherlands, United States, France and Denmark, they are all well above the line. Deaths in all these countries throughout 2022 and 2023, for the most part, and the average is certainly way above. Yes, you got the odd one dipping below for a period of time, but the average is well above.
We are the only country that after 3 years of a global pandemic that has what's called negative excess mortality.
New Zealand, again, this is plus 5%. So New Zealand has been well above average since January 2022 all the way through that we have figures for up to May the 21st, 2023. It remains high. Why is there no international outcry about this? Am I missing something here? I just don't understand this.
So how is all-cause mortality, excess deaths, whatever the term is, it's running at 10%, we think, here at the moment, though our Director General of Public Health, now retired and since picked up a knighthood, he claims that we actually had negative excess deaths in the last 3 years, though ambulances are crazy, hospitals are full, and people know people who've had problems more than just, the 1 in a million. So how could you say that and use statistics that seem, I'm talking about those spikes on graphs being so obvious, turning it around 180 degrees and claiming that actually we've done everyone a favor. Look, we've won. We've kept deaths down. We're heroes. Give me a knighthood.
How did we do during a 1 in 100 year existential threat global pandemic? Pretty jolly well.
It's very easy, and again, it's all a statistical scam. It's how you measure excess deaths. So in a situation like an unusual situation like this, where you've got the pandemic of 2020, although you got it a bit later, and then the vaccine, the lockdowns and the vaccine program. So you've got all these incredibly unusual circumstances which are going to lead to an increase in deaths. If you're going to measure excess deaths, you have to use the period before that, the stable period. So you normally use the previous 5 years, except in circumstances like this, where you'd use the previous 5 stable years, and then you'd adjust it for population change and stuff like that. If you use the stable 5 years of the 2015 to 2019, which you should do, then I can tell you, because I've looked at the New Zealand data, that claim about that you've got negative excess deaths is nonsense. In fact, you've got excess deaths, significant excess deaths. In some months, it was over 30%, right? You've got that ever since the introduction of the vaccine in 2021, right? You have got excess deaths consistently since then, right? But if you do the trick of including I think nobody includes 2020 because that was the pandemic year, right? But what they're now doing, and they're doing this in the UK, they're suddenly bringing in 2021 and 2022 into the baseline for the excess death calculations. Well, hang on a second, if you do that, you're not going to have any excess deaths in 2023. I mean, so it's just a statistical trick. It all depends on what years you take for your baseline for the excess deaths. And that claim by, your person there in New Zealand.
We are the only country unique in the world that after 3 years of a global pandemic, it's killed
at least 20 million.
We're the only country that has what's called negative excess mortality.
It's simply based on that trick of choosing those particular years.
So I really hope that pretty soon I'll be able to come and say, right, excess deaths have gone down now, but they haven't. They remain high and have done for 18 months on the whole. That graph just shows it really quite nicely. All these countries well above the 0% line for most of the time. You know, because this is happening to all of these countries all at the same time, you would suspect that there might be a common cause of this. You know, it's a pity we don't have an organisation that's responsible for global health, because if they did, they'd be absolutely bouncing up and down about this and saying, what is killing our people? Let's get to the bottom of this. It's just gone on for too long. It really has. We need to know why people are dying at an accelerated rate.
Sir Ashley is now working for Auckland University and the World Health Organization, a change of pace from the pandemic.
Would you ever go back to a role like that, Sir Ashley?
Well, I think I'm done for now.
It's almost like leaders are living in a parallel universe.